In this video, I'll walk you through exactly how I took my back lawn from awful to awesome. Now, I'm most certainly not a lawn expert, but I was able to get some pretty great results following this process. I had battled this lawn for a few years, and I finally decided that getting rid of it and starting from scratch was going to be the best option for a few reasons. The grass was really old, it required a ton of water in the warmer months, it was inconsistent and patchy, lots of different grass types, including crabgrass. And lastly, it was really uneven and bumpy. It was a lot of work, but I'm very happy with the results, so here's what I did. Step one was to get the lawn as short as possible. This is best achieved over the course of a few weeks, mowed a bit lower each time until you're at the lowest possible setting. Next step is to kill off the existing grass. The easiest and fastest way I know how to do this is by using non-selective herbicide or glyphosate. Adding dye to your mix is also extremely helpful during this step to see exactly where you're spraying. I'll link to what I used in the description. I did also use a surfactant to help it stick to the grass and really work as effectively as possible. You'll want to do this step while it's still warm out, since that's when the herbicide works best. You can see after 7 days the lawn was really dying out, but still definitely some stubborn patches of green, so you'll want to do at least 2 thorough applications. It's also important to keep watering occasionally during this process so that anything you do miss will keep growing and you can see it and take care of it. And then here's what it looked like after the second application. I was running a little thin on dye at that point. And here is 1 week after that second application. So you'll notice it's looking really dead. You'll also notice I left a little strip of grass along my back patio here. So this area never gets any sunlight, so I figured it'd be really challenging to establish grass here. I'm hoping the grass types don't clash too much once it grows in, but we'll see on that. The next thing I did was dethatch the dead lawn. So I have this Sunjo dethatcher and scarifier, and it's a great little machine. I think it was like $150. I'll put a link in the description. It has both a dethatching cylinder and a scarifying cylinder. But to be honest, the dethatching didn't do a whole lot, and it wasn't really worth the effort in my opinion. So I would recommend probably just going straight to the scarifying cylinder. So as I scarify, you can start to really see how it's creating grooves and removing a lot of the dead material to expose the soil. And you'll want to do this, I'd say 3 or 4 times in different directions, and then rake up and dispose of the dead grass and material that you get up. This step of raking up and disposing of dead grass was definitely a little bit backbreaking, so be prepared for that. But now, as you can see, the soil is really starting to be exposed and ready for seed. Another step that I'd say is optional, but will definitely improve your results, is adding a layer of soil or sand to create that nice seed bed, and also to level any uneven areas, which I definitely needed to do. After getting everything level, the soil was fairly compacted from all the traffic and walking, so I did one more quick pass with the scarifier to create those nice grooves for the seed to lay in. And then it was time to go ahead and apply the seed. So I would just say follow the seeding rates on the bag, and I decided to go with Ryan Knorr's Tall Fescue Blend. And I just used a broadcast spreader, and it worked really great. So here you can see the seed lying in the soil and kind of what the density looked like. Then this next step, I believe, can make a massive difference in the results you get, which is rolling the seed into the soil, making sure that the seed is really pressed down into the soil. So I rented this roller for like $20 from Home Depot, filled it with water, make it super heavy, and then just press all the seed in. You can see it really kind of flattens out those grooves and presses that seed down in to maintain that contact with the soil. I then put down some of this Scott's Triple Action Starter Fertilizer, which will feed the new seed, but also has some pre-emergent in it to prevent a lot of weed types from hopefully germinating along with your new grass. I'll link to that below as well, but so far super happy with that. I would definitely use it again. Then really kind of the last step in this process is putting down a layer of peat moss. And this will cover the seed to help it germinate, but also importantly, it'll help retain water to keep the seed moist. So peat moss is kind of like a sponge. It'll hold way more water for longer than soil will. And again, I rented this peat moss spreader for about $20 from Home Depot. Well worth the money, makes it way more efficient to spread that nice even layer. So here's how it ended up looking. And then the key after all of this is to make sure that your hard work pays off and water it regularly. Make sure it's staying moist so the seed can germinate. So I laid my seed the first week of September. Still pretty warm out, so I think I watered about 4 times a day for maybe 5 or 6 minutes at a time. Just make sure when you look at the soil and the peat moss that it looks moist. You don't want it soaking and totally soggy, but you also absolutely can't afford to let it dry out for very long. So about 1 week after seeding, we started to get some really good germination, which is such a relief when you start to see that after doing all this work. It's kind of wild how I would check every day and it was nothing, 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 and then literally almost overnight there's a bunch of green grass coming up. Here's a shot of 10 days after seeding. Here's 2 weeks after seeding. And here you'll start to notice on the right hand side there's a section that in the fall doesn't get hardly any sunlight because of the angle of the sun, so it came in a lot slower than the rest. Here's a shot at 3 weeks. We also had a gnarly hailstorm around this time, which gave me another heart attack, but thankfully I don't think did too much damage. Then here's 4 weeks after seeding, 5 weeks after seeding. Here's a shot of 6 weeks. And finally 7 weeks after seeding, which is when I mowed for the first time, as it was getting pretty long in some areas. And I'll definitely overseed this spring to thicken up a few areas, but overall I am thrilled with the results I got. I'm really anxious to see how it does over the winter and then especially during the hot summer months. But so far, Ryan Knorr's seed seems to be the real deal. I'm really happy with it. So thanks for watching. If you have any questions, suggestions, comments, please let me know below, and I really appreciate it.